Thank you. It was passed without much dissent, and the plan. It's really good. It's obviously not perfect. It would be great to have off-road cycleways and things like that, but for what is an industrial commercial area, it's very good, and we're really pleased at how it's developed. I think both boards were, but we're concerned that the development has gone forward with the anticipation of having a lot of parking available, and so we asked staff, both boards have asked staff to have a look at other parking possibilities.
Okay.
Totally agree. On page 108, when we have the response to consultation, there was some real issues there from the feedback from the submissions at the to find 114 car parking spaces, and that's why our boards have recommended on the bottom of page 113 that the boards decided to request staff to further consider and report back to both boards on the provision of off-street parking options to offset the lot of on-street parking spaces arising from the project, and so on. So that's what we're stressing. If we can possibly do that somehow. Mention was made of the Sarah building in that proximity as well, and after it's
No, it wasn't. It was Skirt.
Skirt. So that's one of the sort of things that was talked about, is the possibility of car parking becoming available there when Skirt has finished its. Anyway, just since then too, Paul, I've had a call from a business person in the area. He's really concerned now that Birmingham Drive, Annex Birmingham, gets gridlocked several times during the day. I've experienced myself, and it's an absolute nightmare getting out onto Blenheim Road and to Wrights Road at present, and he's concerned that, just reporting on a phone conversation I've had, Paul, since then, that it is an issue that we hope can be addressed looking forward after this road is built, to try and improve traffic movements through that area.
And I just wanted to raise the importance, I'm sure the council will agree, of getting information out there about the positive impact that cycleways have on business.
Yes.
Because there's this, it seems to be that people think, oh, it's for people who are completely unrelated to them, and that it's not going to bring people to their business, but also that the understanding of the people who made deputations on this was that it was for taking people through and not to their, so it's not for taking people who are commuting past or people who are joyriding or whatever, rather than for taking people, their employees and their customers to them. And it would be great if we could have before the major cycleways really pick up, if we could have an education campaign around the benefits of cycleways.
Okay, so the resolution that's here is that the council approves Spreydon, Heathcote and Riccarton Wigram Community Board components of the preferred scheme design. Is that something that you want to move, Phil? And Vicky, do you want to second that? Right, so Yanni.
Just a question really of the boards and probably to staff, but in light of our capital program review, does this project stack up in terms of the cost? Like, we're spending $10 million and it's quite a lot of money, and we've got broken roads that we're considering fixing. So have you thought about whether this project is essential right now, or whether this is something that we could do in the future once we've dealt with some of the more pressing earthquake?
I guess the first answer is yes. It is an important project but I do the general point around it going through the capital program with a fine-tooth comb. I totally support that, but in this particular case, it is very important for the growth and future of the ward to ensure that that you deal with the traffic congestion and access to the business park.
There is a subsidy
comment?
that we're expecting on this one as well. Can we get a comment on that?
But just under 5.3, it talks about the high benefit cost ratio of 17. Then it says it's been further investigated. So I'd just like staff to kind of tell me what that means.
Good point.
Yeah,
This is John Edmonds.
John, come to the table, and can you comment also on the expectation around the funding from NZTA?
Yeah, John Edmonds, Project Manager. Yeah, the BCR is a benefit cost ratio. It's a standard financial measure defined by NZTA. So the benefits are measured in terms of travel time reduction, waiting time reduction at intersections. Primarily those are the benefits. There's also reduction in CO2 emissions, things like that. And then the costs are the costs of us implementing the project. So at the moment, thanks. It's got a... It's got an extremely high benefit cost ratio. Anything over 1 means benefits exceed the costs. So, I mean, it's saying that the benefits are 17 times the cost of the project, which we're reviewing because we think it's a little bit high.
It's much better than the RONs.
So the question is why is it being reviewed?
Because it's exceptionally high compared to most of our projects.
So you think that there may be an error in it?
Stated benefits.
It could be. I mean, typically, a very a high cost-benefit ratio has a BCR of about 5.
Right. So just taking on Councillor Johansson's point about the review of our capital program, which is really stepping up next week, I'm wondering whether this actually now has to be made subject to the deliberation on the LTP, because all of the capital program is up for review, and we've undertaken to do that as a council, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable with, you know, I mean, I know that you're not asking us to sign off on the spend because you're asking us to approve the components of the preferred scheme design. But actually there are financial implications of the spend, and we don't want people to be just kind of getting on with it if we're going to make a decision not to proceed with this project anytime in the near future.
Can I just be clear on that? This is on this year's plan?
Currently, it's in this year's plan.
Right.
And
So
you're gonna get that underway and completed by the financial year end.
they'll start it this
No,
financial year?
it's currently in this year and next financial year, completion next financial.
So how much is in this financial year? Sorry, 2 million.
There's a table towards the back.
So that's not going to be in what part of our 450 underspend.
So it's already had monies allocated and spent. So in 15-16 it's about 7.1 million, and in 16-17 about 1.1 million. So a total of, starting in 2013-14, a total of $10.5 million.
So most of this financial year, so I'm assuming we're not going through the capital program for this financial year.
But this financial year is 2014-15. The next financial year is when our LTP starts. And if you're saying that we are not reviewing anything that's in the budget for next financial year, and we're not looking at priorities compared to, I mean, if we're saying that things are off the agenda for not looking at in terms of the capital spending program, then
But but we have a 400-something million underspent in capital.
Yes, I know.
This actually gets stuff out there happening, which people are desperate to have happen.
Is this
If we're
going to... No, but I want to know, is the $2 million that's allocated for this financial year, is that going to be spent in this financial year?
Close to. So the remaining work that would happen this financial year is most of the detailed design work.
And when does the funding application kick in for the NZTA, and which year will that impact on? Because this is not a net figure, this is a gross figure.
Yeah, both this year and next financial year. So there's separate applications for each stage of the project. So there'll be an application for detailed design, which is the next stage, and then a separate application the following year for construction. There's two perhaps relevant points, if I may make them. One is the key objective of this project was to try and manage the downstream impacts of the Wigram-McDowell link, which is being constructed. So it's a new arterial between the southwest and more central parts of the city. So that will create a lot more traffic through these routes.
Yeah.
And this is what this project is trying to address. The second thing is, Jane, you may know more about it, but as part of the capital review going on, I just heard this morning that planners are proposing that this project get deferred.
So, Madam Mayor, I just want to point out that work is actually commenced on this. They're doing the pile work as we speak. So it'd be very, very difficult to actually drop it. So I'm really concerned that if there's going to be a review of the budget process, that this could drop off.
No, we already agreed as a council that there would be a review of the capital program.
Yep.
Councillor Johansson asked the question about the priority
Yes, that's
attaching
right.
to this.
Yep.
And that is what we're exploring. So I'm trying to get a handle on exactly what's on the agenda and what's off.
Okay.
And but now I'm concerned that a staff member says that the planners are thinking of taking it off.
Jane, you may know more.
Look, John, what would be a logical pause? We're just doing more work on a plan here.
Yeah.
What would be a logical pause time? So in other words, we're not spending any more money because of this resolution, is that right?
We'd be going into detailed design if this was approved over the next 4 to 6 months. Right. So, I mean, it could be paused now.
Okay.
Could I just say, Mike, the construction that's happening now is for a different, well, it's a different project.
For the bridge.
It's for the bridge,
Yeah,
the Wigram-McDowell link.
This
is a separate project, but it's highly linked to the Wigram.
Yeah.
But something with such a high, I know it needs to be reviewed, but it's unlikely that it's going to go down to, but the cost benefit ratio is really high. We know that it's therefore positive and needed. Like the sort of things that need to be delaying are things with much lower cost benefit ratios. But look, I'm all for having a look and keeping the costs down, but I think that the cost to council are likely to be higher rather than lower by delaying this particular project.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Councillor Johansson raised the issue quite justifiably, because we have a resolution on the books that says that we are undertaking a review of our capital spend. So he raised it quite justifiably.
And I agree
we've heard some really interesting discussion about this, and I'm actually going to suggest that in future council papers that come forward that have these financial implications really do need to have some analysis around where that sits in terms of the, in terms of the review of the capital program. I'm actually of the view that this should proceed because what it doesn't take into account in either this current financial year or the next financial year, what more looking at the next financial year, is the amount of NZTA subsidy. So we're looking at a gross figure when we know that the cost is not going to be 10.4 million. it is going to be potentially just under half that amount. So, I kind of, that's the bit that's missing from here, in the sense that, I mean, although we've got some comfort around the BCR, but then we're also being advised that it's being further investigated because there is a concern that it's so high that it might be wrong. So, but I'm hearing a lot of things that perhaps need to be in papers in the future, because we can't be signing off on decisions that then impact on our ability to do the review of the capital program, which we've signed up to do. But I'm really quite comfortable with this this proceeding, but I think councillors need to know that means that we're committing to the 2015-16 and 2016-17 spend as well.
May I also just note briefly that our board, it does have a list of capital projects that we think should be deferred. So it's not simply this is in my ward, so it's important. The high cost benefit ratio, and a business park that is severely constrained in its growth. I think it's really important. But there are a whole bunch of things in our ward that could be delayed, but this should be one of them.
Yeah, there's an entire section of Christchurch called the East, which is operating on roads that are substandard. They have no footpaths to push their pushchairs down, or to navigate streets with their mobile scooters. The extent of damage in parts of our city have got to be addressed as well. So we have a serious set of decisions to be made, and it's not going to be an equal amount per ward based on a ward location.
And our board has said in our submissions to date that we support the East getting more than us. Like we agree.
They will.
Yes,
don't worry.
Good.
You've got that. Right, Yanni.
Thank you. I know there's been a lot of work done on this project. I just, I think the design's fine. So, I'm happy to approve the design today. But since it's Friday, we're getting the new information around the capital review. Obviously, we just need to think about what happens. So I presume staff can just take that on board, the comments that have been made, and obviously see what happens next week. And if we need to look at council reprioritising the spend, we can still do that. So I don't think that should hold up the approval of the design today. But can I just say, I just, heard on the radio this morning, the springs in people's areas in Aranui, for example, 4 years on, and Pages Road Bridge. All these projects are projects that we need to kind of understand the big picture.
Yeah, I can tell you a story about the Pages Road Bridge, and that has nothing to do with whether NZTA can fund it right now. We've got major decisions to make around the residential red zone, and we've got major decisions to make about the location of roads. New Brighton Road's a classic one. You can't make a decision about a permanent repair to a bridge until you know what's happening on the other side.
But the NZTA
but we don't know whether it's going to be realigned. We don't know where it's going to end up. So there's no point doing a permanent repair now. That's why it's important. That's why everyone agreed that it would be a temporary repair. Anyway,
I just wanted to say that, I welcome us looking at a capital program and looking at the roading optimisation and actually the NZTA stuff, because NZTA don't have unlimited money. So it's not, we shouldn't just assume that projects, because they have a high BCR, will get NZTA funding. We know there's a competition for funding amongst NZTA, and it doesn't actually matter if it qualifies, it's actually going through another process. So anyway, I'm glad that these discussions have been made. I'm happy to support the design today, recognising we've got another week to look at our capital program.
Jimmy.
I want to ask staff to be clarified. Because this project closed for 4 years, am I right? From the design till the construction. Mm-hmm. And also, if we review back to 2 years ago, actually this project has been approved in the former council meeting, but maybe the previous council already secured this budget. And also, next year, 2015-16, $7.1 million, whether has been approved in the previous council, back to the 2 years ago. And also, this project has been going ahead for 2 years already. If we review project regarding to this project, we review is the third and the fourth year again, or we review the project whether need to going on or not. This is my question.
So it's been approved in the current 3-year plan, and the table, financial table under 5.1, the 3-year plan heading seems to have moved a bit in that table through the formatting. So as I understand it, this year is the final year of the current 3-year plan?
That's right.
I mean the $2.2 million already approved and go ahead. If we review next year, am I right? Because next year is the 3rd year of the 3-year plan. But 3-year plan regarding to this project already approved by the formal council meeting, back to 2 years ago, am I right?
Whatever's in the 3-year plan has been approved. Can someone tell me
Yeah.
when? I thought the 3-year
You're
plan
right.
finishes this year.
Yeah, the 3-year plan finishes at the, no, it's 2015-16 is the 3rd year. Because it's it was 2013-14, 14-15, 15-16.
Yeah.
But that was replaced with the our first year of the LTP, the 3rd year. So the 15-16, I don't mean to look like I'm doing that. The next year would be the 3rd year of the 3-year plan, but it is the first year of the LTP.
That's right.
Right.
So, and I think that what Councillor Johansson has quite rightly put on the table is that the consequences of the decision to review the capital program means that we are reviewing the whole of the capital spend. But in making this decision today, to go ahead with the design, I think we're going a step further. In fact, we're pretty much taking this off the agenda for reconsideration.
But my question is, if we review, we should review, whether this project behind the program or short of the budget, rather than we review whether this project has been approved or not approved.
No, it doesn't matter whether it's been approved. That's the point that Yanni's making. It's all bets are off. We're reviewing the entire capital program. That's what we committed as a council to do as part of our commitment to seeing how we balance the books for each year of the next 10 years. So that is the work that we are doing behind the scenes, while at the same time we're consulting on our long-term plan. We committed to the people of Christchurch that we would do that. And the operational expenditure is being reviewed internally by the chief executive, being led by the chief executive. So, but the thing that you've pointed out is that the 3-year plan reference on this is incorrect, because it takes the 3rd year out into 2016-17, which isn't part of the 3-year plan period.
Yeah, that's a formatting error. That wasn't originally how I had it.
Right.
That's right.
Okay.
So
So that just goes back
right.
forward. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I just add a quick point?
Yep.
If the council approves the scheme today, but withdraws this project from the capital program starting next year, then we either could make a start on detailed design for the next 2 months, or maybe not. But certainly we wouldn't proceed next financial year if there was no capital funding for it.
No. But the thing that I'm kind of saying is that there's no point spending $2 million on a detailed design program if you're not going to commit to the $7 million for the building of it.
So that $2 million was for the scheme design and detailed design. Now, most of it was spent on the scheme design. But, I mean, we've only got 2 months left of the year.
Right.
And if we know that this project is planned to come out of the LTP as being proposed by staff, then we wouldn't start detailed design. So we wouldn't spend any more time or money on it.
It is going to be very difficult in any capital review to take out something that has the benefit to cost ratio that this does. This, I mean, while this is a factor of huge growth in this area, and just roads need changing. I hate spending money on roads, but I cannot deny that this work is needed. Anybody who's used any of these roads at any time of the day, even in the off-peak, will know that. So, I mean, we have this awful figure of capital underspend. We just need to get on and do stuff. I mean, even if that figure goes from 17 to 12 or 7, it's still going to be at the top of the priority works. It's a very, very high benefit to cost.
Yep. So, well, do you need to add something to that?
I just want to point out, Madam Mayor and councillors, that we've already spent $2 million. What we're actually looking at, if we get the 48% subsidy, that we're probably looking at about $3.2 million with my very, 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 very rough calculation. So when we're talking about 10 million, realistically we're not, but we're sort of budgeting for that as a worst case scenario. So when we're looking at reviewing the budget, by the time you get to review your capital program, you would be looking at the cost of this is about $3 or $3.5 million.
We won't know the answer to that.
No, I know
I've
that,
already
but
made that point, and we won't know the answer by the end of June. But anyway, that I think that people are going to support this, but I think Councillor Johansson is right to alert us to the process that we've agreed that we're going through. And it's going to be a big effort, and everyone is going to have to, you know, play a serious role in making sure that we get that capital spend down. But we also can't you know, pretend that reducing the capital program is going to solve our problems financially as a council. And the reason that we can't do that is because making a decision to defer a capital spend that ultimately will have to happen at some point may have flow-on impacts on the OPEX in the meantime, but it also may have, it's simply a deferring of a decision that has to be taken at a future stage. It doesn't reduce the council's obligation to spend on an embedded basis, which is where the OPEX savings are actually much, much more. And of course, paying interest, and I hate paying interest. It's for the privilege of borrowing money, the interest that we are paying. I've got the latest figures of how much that actually goes to, but it's like over $100 million a year just in interest. And it just seems to be such a vast sum of money for the privilege of borrowing. But I also agree with the, you know, the intergenerational equity arguments as well. We can't put the cost on this generation of ratepayers of something that has a benefit across generations. So all of these considerations are coming into the consideration of the long-term plan, and this has, you know, sparked off that discussion. But this is a serious reminder to everyone. We've got some hard work ahead of us, and it isn't simple, and it isn't enough just to take things off our capital program. So I'm going to put the motion because I don't know that it will assist.
My question is, if we review, you know, all those the forthcoming.
No, I'm not going to take questions on the capital program.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
But that's
so,
in relation to this project.
No. This project is going to survive that review. We've made that decision really with this one. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And Mike, if you could stay at the table and turn to clause 16.